Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Marine Corps Movie Minute. Breaking down movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. Today we are doing 123.
Very good.
Fuck off. Of Heartbreak Ridge. I'm Jack.
I'm Brian.
And with us today, our guests. Guys, feel free to introduce yourselves.
I was letting you go first this time, Jeff.
Oh, no, by all means, Chris, go ahead.
So polite.
That was their introduction. Anyway.
See, Jeff, on our podcast, Jeff does the opening, so he's always first. So I try to jump in when we're on anybody else's. I'm Chris from the Jay and Silent Bob Minute.
I'm Jeff from the award-winning Burbs Minute.
Well, welcome back, fellas. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Minute 123 begins with our colonel doing his, a little interrogation of Major Powers, and it ends with a little moto speech. Very brief.
Very brief.
Very, very brief. They get on the war fighting.
I mean, it's always fun to watch it dressing down, especially when it's not you getting it.
Oh, yeah, especially with somebody that you don't like. Yeah, this is the colonel's minute all the way. He was, he got to dish out to Major Powers a little bit of what he'd been kind of delivering the rest of the movie. And then you got Webster. Poor Webster.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've talked about this scene actually in the past, Perry.
Yeah. To see it now, he's like, oh. You can actually hear it. Wah, wah.
Like, oh, I backed the wrong horse.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He is totally like, I guess I'll stand over here now.
Yeah. I'll walk back down my hill.
We got the setup last minute where he's like, you new to infantry? Yes, sir. Recently come over from supply. Which I love his, I'm guessing, fake accent.
Yeah.
And he's like, were you good at it? Yes, sir. Well, stick to it. Because, then he's like, you're a walking clusterfuck of an infantry officer. And he's like, well, you're dismissed. He gets him the hell out of there. And the way Powers just walks away, it is literally like a little kid just getting disciplined and being sent to their room. Like, I could see this being like DJ Tanner, getting sent to a room by, on Full House or something like that. Like just the way he kind of puts his
the
head
Charlie
down.
Brown music.
Yeah,
he might as well be kicking rocks as he's walking away.
Yeah. Oh, shucks. Yeah, putting his hands in his pocket, head down. Playing the Incredible Hulk music as he walks away. and I love Lieutenant Ring when he's like, "Good job, Lieutenant. Thank you, sir." He's like, because then he tells him, "Good work, Lieutenant. Thank you, sir." And then he's like, "Lieutenant, see that these students are escorted back to Cherry Point." And I immediately was like, if this was a visual podcast, I would insert the picture of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV, because that's totally what Perry and I would do.
Yeah.
Cherry Point.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
They're talking about us.
Yeah. Then the next few minutes when you actually see it, I'm like, that ain't fucking Cherry Point.
It ain't Cherry Point. But you see one flight line, you see them all,
Yeah.
I remember watching a show one time, and they're just showing a base. They're like, yeah, we're in Japan. They're like, this doesn't look like Japan. They're like, it's a military base. They look the same the world over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Even though like this movie, they have the old Quonset huts, which, is, to my knowledge, I never really saw those at Camp Lejeune. So it's like, it really stands out that it's Pendleton. Even though I'm sure they were there. I mean, I saw them on like, when we did like our MCT Marine Combat Training, it's technically associated. It's Camp Johnson, right? Isn't it Camp Johnson or Camp Geiger? Whatever. Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I actually went to Pendleton. Yeah.
Yeah. You were out there.
I actually think I stayed at those Quonset huts. I believe that's where
we stayed at the Four Seasons.
You're right. Exactly. Well, we were recently talking about. Well, Perry, I can cut this out, Perry, if you want. But like,
I don't care. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, because I'm gonna bring up how some of the Air Force kids, how they dealt with COVID for the Air Force, is they sent those guys to a 4-star hotel, and they're all
yeah. Yeah, little prick.
Yeah, but then we found out that there was some base somewhere that when there was a bunch of Marines that got COVID, they put them out in like a tent city, like
like lepers.
Also not surprised.
They were like, "What the fuck?" You gotta go camping while you're sick.
You're fine. We'll throw some MREs over the fence.
Right? Yeah.
spray the hose on them if they're thirsty, or get a little dog bowl.
Yeah, it's like when they locked old Yeller up in the, when he was rabid. It's like keep him away.
That also doesn't surprise me even a little bit. Yeah, little prick when he got COVID called, and he's like, "Yeah, they're moving me to a 4-star hotel for 2 weeks. I've got my laptop and some video games. I'm just going to be there. They're going to bring me food." I'm like, "You little shit! That's my goddamn tax money, you prick."
Oh, that's all right. I'll tell you one. I went to shit. It might have been Keesler actually. I went down there supposed to go to some fucking class that I had to go to for like 2 weeks. I get down there and they're like, "Oh, it's all full on base, so we're gonna have to put you off base." I'm like, "Oh, great." And they're like, "Oh, you know what? We're wrong. Something opened up." And I got to stay in like some sort of officer's quarters. Like, what the fuck is this? This is how the other half lives.
Yeah,
it's like 2 rooms. This place was gigantic. I'm like, oh my god, this is such bullshit. I'd walk out in the morning and it'd be all officers and me.
Yeah.
I was like,
sir,
like an E4. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Salute.
Yeah.
It was more like hide, low crawl, don't want to see anybody.
Oh yeah.
Heard you guys talking about it before. It was like, shit, it's 5 minutes before the thing goes off. Gotta
run,
get inside.
Chit. Exactly. Get inside really quick.
We used to do the same thing. Like I worked on the flight line for a long time, and the pilots would be coming down, either go out or they'd be coming back from a mission or whatever. You didn't salute while you were out there, but this would be like crossing the parking lot, and everybody's got their hats on and all that stuff. Everyone would just kind of walk away from each other. They would kind of veer off in one direction and we'd go in the other. One time, some douchebag officer that had nothing to do with us was just like, "Hey, you can't do that. Guys can't walk away from each other." I'm like, "Listen, they don't want to salute us and we don't want to salute them. The guy just flew for 5 fucking hours. He doesn't want to be bothered." I was like, "We're doing them a service by going the other way."
Yeah, because it's got to be annoying for them as well. Except for, there's always that one asshole that's like, you will salute me. I'm an officer. Don't you know who I am? But yeah, a lot of times those guys don't want it. They don't want to deal with that shit either, especially the fly boys. They're there for flying,
Yeah, they're like, I don't care. Like they just come out there and they just say ridiculous dumb shit to me sometimes. And they're just like, "Oh, hey Chief, I got to talk to you. What's this hole here for?" "That's where your landing gear goes." "Oh, okay." Fucking A. Tell you, here's a real one I had one time. Guy, I worked on weapons. So the guy gets on, I get on the headset with him. He's like, "Chief, I'm having a problem. I can't, I can't get my my missiles up." I'm like, "All right. Well, cycle through your switches. Let me what position is your switch in right now?" There was like 6 positions. He goes, "It's in the official position." I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And he's like, "It's OFF." Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Like, well, how about this? Try switching it from off to anything else and see if it comes on. He's like, "It's all good, Chief." Yeah, this guy went to college for 4 years.
Right. And he's in charge.
The guy in the front seat's like, "You fucking idiot."
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Like, $1 million
$1
aircraft
at work. That was a $50 million plane that guy was in.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a full ride for a football scholarship.
It was funny because we would talk to them about that sometimes because they had to have a degree, and sometimes it'd be like, "Oh, what's your degree in, sir?" And he'd be like, "Oh, was it physical education?" You're like, "Oh my god." Then you get other guys that come out and be like, "Hey, sir, what was your degree?" And he'd be like, "Mechanical engineering." You'd be like, "Oh, I'll shut up then." You could probably build this plane.
Perry and I, we both reported to. We both did this like ancillary duty for.
Oh, Captain Rivera.
Yeah, was that his name? Yeah. I always forget his name. Yeah, he was cool. Yeah, he was a cool dude. He was EA-6B pilot, right?
A Prowler, yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And he was just like they just had to have somebody, and it was always some flyboy that they always got to be in charge of this like messaging unit, and they never really knew anything what was going on. They were just there to kind of sign off on things. But he was a good dude.
Did they care? Yeah, nor did they care.
Yeah, exactly, because they were just worried about flying, getting their hours in and stuff like that. But he was a good dude, and he actually went over to Kosovo. He told us a lot about how what went on there, and because they were doing all the anti-aircraft radar jamming, so then the Air Force could come in and take them out. So they would do the jamming or whatever. Is what he was telling us. But he actually arranged it so we could go on one of those to the flight simulator. Yeah, so he kind of snuck us in like Doug Masters on Iron Eagles. We were in there doing Star Wars quotes, and I don't think we played any music though, like Doug. But
no, that shit was dope. That was a lot of fun.
So yeah, those guys can be cool.
I have a great shot of one of the EA-6 pilots when I was in Turkey. because they had the thing on the front to refuel it.
Yeah.
To give everyone a visual, they're sitting on the front on the radome, and there's a big tube that sticks off the front, which if you're 5 years old looks like a huge dick. So this dude's up there polishing it. I'm sitting out there taking pictures of him, and he's screaming at me. He's like, "Stop fucking taking pictures of me!" I'm like, "No, this is going right in my photo album."
That's perfect. Too bad it wasn't like on some like company newsletter or something like that, or a squadron newsletter.
When I was over there, we would have we would send up shit over Iraq, and it would be like it was a weird hodgepodge of things. It'd be like EA6s, be like F-15s, F-16s. The AWACS would go up. We'd have the British Jaguars would go up with us. Like what a grouping we had.
Yeah.
What other kind of weird planes can we send up and just have them tool around with us?
Well, like you said, you got everybody just kind of coming together nowadays. So it's always, and yeah, you even mentioned that we're going to have allies from other countries even.
Yeah.
But they're going to have their stuff there too.
Well, their stuff is, not the Brits, but like when we would go other places, other countries would show up and I'd be like, this hardware looks very familiar.
Yeah.
I think I saw it in a black and white movie once.
Like Saudi Arabia and Singapore are here with their planes. Guess what their planes are? They're fucking our planes.
Yeah. Maybe just a few less, avionics stuff.
You look inside the avionics bay, you're like, when is this shit from? 1970?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all the declassified stuff from a long time ago.
I got more hardware in my PlayStation 4 than what's in here. A lot of the main differences, they don't have the avionics, and they usually don't know how to train their pilots. Well, that's the second part. It's like our plane is so awesome, yeah, but no one knows how to fly it.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, well, I was going back. I was trying to get back to the colonel with his most dismissive of "you're dismissed." Like, you know how it is. If you're being yelled at, you can't leave. You just have to stand there until the guy lets you go.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting, like, please, just let me go. Just don't make me stand here and be embarrassed any more than I already am.
Take your beating.
Yeah, because it's happening in front of everybody. Gunny gets that little smirk.
So I've never served in the military. You can't just say "fuck you" and walk away.
You can try. It's not going to
Well,
end well for you.
You can
your teeth
do
up.
anything you like, but
yeah, it's not going to end well for you, especially the lower rank you are. Well, I can't, Perry, I can't remember if we brought this up on the podcast or not, but I was witness to a fight one time where
yes,
I think I did, but it was this Master Guns. Big motherfucker. He was old and he just was
Herman Munster.
yeah, he did. He looked like Herman Munster for real. But he there was this, staff sergeant, cool dude, and something was said and it was really low key, and he's like, the master sergeant or Master Guns took it personal and said, "You can't talk to me that way. You can't talk to me that way." And he followed him in his office and just started beating his shit out of him with his telephone. And it's always like, now it didn't end well for the Master Guns in the long run. And it was over something so like mundane too. It wasn't even like an official, like your colonel was calling you in front of his desk or whatever, or into his office, and now he's going to tear you a new one. We did. I know I brought this up, but we had a colonel. He would not yell at anybody. Sergeant E5, he would maybe yell at them. Typically would leave the NCOs and below alone. You were a staff NCO, fair game. And there was one guy. He's like, "Where's my fat little gunnery sergeant?" And he would tear into these guys. I would always be like, "He's not so bad." And it's like, yeah, because I'm not on the receiving end of it. He got pissed at me a few times, but he was always more respectful to us lower guys. I think because really he didn't pay us any mind, but he expected more out of the staff NCOs and his junior officers. And when they fucked up, he let them know. Kind of like this guy here, like this colonel here, by the way, he's tearing into, Powers and then tells him to get the fuck out of here. But then he still kind of turns it's more of a playful, get the hell out of my LZ. What are you two sorry sons of bitches doing at my, you get the hell out of my LZ. And he dismisses the Gunny and Chuzu too,
Yeah.
Hoorah. Simplify.
There's a little triad of salt right there. There's some salty old nom-vets.
Yeah. Yeah, they've definitely chewed some dirt together,
Yeah.
First off, I like the colonel giving his comeuppance to Powers and basically sending him on his way. Now,
Yeah.
I am curious as to like what would happen if this movie continued on. Like, did he just get yelled at and he's still in charge?
Or was he like actually relieved?
Right. Yeah.
I
exactly.
doubt he did that. I think it was more of a I think it's more he got sidelined than relieved.
Yeah.
Like I'm not putting the paperwork in. I'm not yanking your command. It's just get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
Right. Go away. Yeah. Exactly. Go back to the beach. Go back to the, the rear. And
count bullets.
We'll handle it from here. Yeah.
And when we get back, we'll give it about 6 weeks, and then you'll request a transfer, and I'll approve it.
Yeah, exactly. Back to supply, maybe.
Yeah. I've saw those over in my time where they were like, it was suggested heavily to somebody that they should put in a transfer. Go away.
Like the fallout for that, fight I was telling you is, this Master Guns was close to retirement. He was 20 plus years. He was one of the guys, I think, pushing 30. And this other guy became a warrant officer in the long run. And I think what happened is they said, we're going to send you to a nice school and you're going to be gone for like 2 or 3 months. And when you get back, the Master Guns will have retired by then quietly, and that was the way they kind of dealt with it. So it was like, this guy needs to go, but we're not going to ruin him this late in his career, over something, that, well, it shouldn't have happened, but it was a misunderstanding, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I like, because we didn't really get into like the way Colonel Myers was yelling at Powers. He's got a similar cadence, the way Chuzu kind of talks, and especially when he's like doing his poetic, colorful metaphors, because he's like, Gunny Highway and Lieutenant Ring took a bunch of fire pisser, whatever. and a handful of young fire pissers, like, exercise some personal initiative and kicked ass, which, that doesn't flow off the tongue naturally. It's not to me. I mean, I can swear like the best of them, but fire pissers and stuff like that.
Practicing that out in the helicopter ride in. He's like, listen, I'm gonna throw this off you guys. Give me some notes on this. I got fire pissers in here.
I honestly think he wants to impress Gunny Highway, because he's like impressed with he is the one guy in this movie besides Recon, once they found out that he has the Medal of Honor, that he was like, oh, it's an honor to meet a Medal of Honor winner. So now he's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to hit my boys back here, Yeah. But I do like how he's still, it's a typical Marine thing. It's like, here's a guy that he has respect for. And of course, I'm sure he has respect for Chuzu as well. And he's like, what are you sorry sons of bitches looking at? Get out of my LZ. Yeah. Simplify. Oorah. That's actually is that the only oorah we get in this movie?
He does it a couple times before this, doesn't he?
Because I know there's a couple scenes where we were like, this is like an oorah moment, and it should have, like, if it was nowadays or in real life, these Marines would be shouting oorah. And I'm trying to think if, he does say oorah earlier in the movie when he's training them, and surrender is not in our creed, louder, surrender is not in his creed, and he's like, oorah. Like, he says it under his breath, almost like nonchalantly, like, yeah, thanks for the effort, fellas.
I mean, to be fair, Clint Eastwood says everything under his breath.
Yeah.
True.
Even when he's marching, even when he's doing like cadence.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another great scene.
It sure is.
Yeah, it's funny because I know Clint Eastwood actually has a very soft-spoken voice at time, but I only ever think of him as the graveled, Gunny Highway squinting, But heck, he sings in some of his movies. Actually, Jeff, I have a question for you, since you were in the service and we were talking about like some of this stuff. I think we talked about it a couple minutes ago, like how Recon kind of fucked around in the barracks and stuff like that. Did you guys in the Air Force ever do like a barbershop quartet or doo-wop, or sing songs together like they do in this movie?
What?
You think it was the 1950s when I was in there?
I mean, these guys, they sing and dance all coordinated like multiple times in this movie, and I'm like, this is not how it would go in the barracks.
How often? Like, I got news for you. I was in the Air Force. How often do you think I was ever quartered with more than one other person?
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, only when I was deployed. That was it. That would be the only time where this kind of shit would go on, because you start to lose your fucking mind when you're gone for too long.
Yeah,
and, like, that kind of stuff happens where it's just like. I remember we were in Turkey one time, and I stayed up the entire night because there was a Flyers game on back home. It went into fucking 5 overtimes, so I stayed up the entire night. I woke up the next day and was like, "Hey, how'd the game go?" I'm like, "It's still on."
Oh,
Still on. This was also the same place where like there was no cell phones. Even if there were, we wouldn't be allowed to have them. But we wanted to call home and stuff. So we found the DSN line that was running to the admin tent. We cut the DSN line and reburied it and put it in our tent.
That's the way to go.
We went to the BX and bought a phone and just installed our own line. So we would call home. You could call home to your base, the closest base to where you lived. Just ask for an outside line. So we would all call home all the time.
Yeah, we would get that a lot. We would get somebody being overseas that that was stationed with us at one point or on deployment, and they'd call into us, and we'd have to transfer them out to town. And then you would like while we were on duty, and then you would sit there and like you couldn't hang the phone up because it would disconnect the call. So you had to basically had to do like a 3-way call is I think really what you were doing. So you'd have to like every once in a while pick up the phone and listen in and make sure they were still talking. so it's like now you're sometimes you're hearing some personal shit. You're like, oh shit, I got because I didn't want to listen to it. I put it back down real quick. But it's like oh shit, they're still talking.
Go back.
It was all fun and games until we're in there one night. Yeah, we're in there one night. Everybody's gambling and shit. We weren't allowed to gamble in the tents. So we're in there. Everybody's gambling. One guy's on the phone to his girlfriend back home, and the chief walked in. He just walked in. He's like, "You fucking guys," and we were like, "Give him the emergency bottle of Johnny Walker." Yeah. we get it for just such an occasion, and we handed it to him, and he's just like, "All right, I'll see you guys later."
Yeah, we had one exercise we did at the end of our flight line one time, and on the mid shift everybody just played Doom. We just had like a LAN party. You make it work.
Hey Jeff, I was hoping you said yes that you were in a barbershop quartet because anyone that has listened to our podcast has heard our great musical episode. So I thought maybe you were really
said there was a musical episode and not a musical entire month where we just kept singing for no reason.
We've got quite a few compliments on our musical episodes. So
between the musical episodes and like our mostly me with my horrific impressions.
Oh yeah, yours are pretty bad. Yeah, I mean they're better than mine because I don't do any. Except for I just did a Clint Eastwood one a minute ago when I said get off of my lawn.
It was spot on too.
Spot on. I thought he was in the room.
We've been trying all season to get him on, and he's finally here.
He just said one line and left. That's it.
Right. Hey, we'll take it.
Oh yeah, definitely would.
Yeah, we always joke. It's like well, we had Peacock on and which was awesome, and it was really cool of him to do that, and not only come on once, but he came on twice. But I was like, I want to get Clint Eastwood on, and it's like, can you imagine trying to explain to Clint Eastwood what the fuck a Movies by Minutes podcast
I can't explain it to my family, let alone Clint Eastwood who's 100 years old.
Yeah, forget for a minute that he's Clint Eastwood and try to remember that he's 90.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like
anybody though, you're trying to explain to them, you're like, wait, you go on for 1 minute? No, it's 1 minute of the movie. So you watch a minute of the movie and then you talk for 1 minute? You can't explain it to people. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't think this aired, but when we were first talking to Pete, we were kind of explaining, kind of how we were going to do things a little bit, just kind of like in the green room like we do. And he's like, well, that seems like an awful long time to talk about one little bit of the movie. I'm like, oh, you have no idea. I mean, we're amateurs at it too. So
what people have to realize is you're not really talking about that minute for too long.
Right.
Start talking about other things and wander off.
For our other podcasts that do talk about the minute for the whole time, but
that's not us.
Like, well, let me talk about the cinematography here.
No, us either.
When I was in cinematography school, and I'm like, I whatever, I don't care.
I'm pretty sure
Kevin Smith movies.
I'm pretty sure we've had episodes where we didn't talk about the minute at all.
Probably.
Yeah. As a fan and as somebody who's listened, I can confirm that. Honestly, on that note, we've covered a minute here. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? Or I think you kind of gave your thoughts overall already on the movie, but is there anything you want to cover about the whole movie that you haven't yet before we go?
It did raise a question for me. Do Marines just get picked on in bars and people want to fight them for no reason? Because why it seems like this movie puts it like they're always getting challenged in bars and people want to fight them and people want to just argue with them for no reason. Is that true?
Not really.
Well, I don't know. It's like
we don't count. Well, we don't count fucking with each other.
Right. But I mean, it seems like, oh, he's a Marine. Let me go fuck with him. But
it does happen. It does happen. Yeah, because I mean, sometimes you get these townies that they don't like the fact that there's a bunch of Marines out. So that does happen. I remember particularly being at a strip club one time, and one of my everybody was I'm just off base too, and it was one of my friends was throwing up in the bathroom. That also shocking, and I skipped the line to go see him, and this dude says, "Where you going, Opie?" I'm like, "Man, fuck you!" Like he was just some redneck dude that just was, drunk and looking for, trouble. And I'm like, "Fuck you!" My buddy's in there, So I mean, it was just shit happens, I think. I mean, I think this happened to a cousin of my cousin. He's a pretty in shape guy. Always had a high and tight. All his friends were out at the beach one time. This is, not terribly far from Lejeune. A lot of Marines were, and apparently a fight had broken out at some bar, and the cops were called. But they came around the corner and they see my cousin and all his friends, all with their high end tights. Now, granted, they're like in their 40s at this point, but they're all in pretty good shape. And the cops came up to them, were like, "You guys were just fighting," and they're like, "You guys are Marines." They were like, "We're not in the service." And it took a little explaining, but the cops didn't believe them at first. They were like, "No," and it was all stemmed because of a bar fight between Marines and like college kids. So I mean, this shit does happen.
Okay.
But I mean, but there's plenty of times that we've gone out either solo or in mass. 1, 2 of us, 3 of us, or 10 of us, and not a damn thing happens. We just drink and talk shit to each other and do our thing, and it's totally fine.
I know the guy who plays the guy who's with his ex, with Highway's ex, seems like he's disgusted by Marines, like he hates them.
I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's because, I mean, obviously he was supposed to be an adversary for Gunny Highway in this, so there's that, and also I think he could be one of those guys that like he doesn't like dealing with these fucking little pissant Marines that come in. These.
Well, he does own a bar, and he probably does have to deal with them every week when they come in.
And they get all and he's a big dude. He's an alpha male, and he's gonna show these tough Marines that he's the toughest. That type of thing. So
that makes more sense.
Yeah, but he's an asshole.
Oh yeah, he's a total asshole too.
And a lot of the other times that you see in this movie, it's Stitch Jones not presenting himself as a Marine, but as a rock and roll person in like a redneck bar, and the bouncers are escorting him out for various reasons. The Twin Towers on cellulite. But that being said, this is maybe something you like, Chris. Apparently one time, now the rumor was, and I don't believe they actually were Marines, but it was like 6 Marines broke Shawn Michaels' jaw in Syracuse, New York.
Oh, really?
And when he lost his smile back in the 90s, I think actually, though, I don't think there was any Marines there. I think they were from the 10th Mountain Division, and Army bases was not too far from there. Okay. And apparently Shawn Michaels Kevin Nash wasn't there to back him up. And he only had like X-Pac and somebody else with him. And he got drunk and started hitting on somebody's girlfriend. And these soldiers took exception to that and ended up breaking his jaw.
I could see wrestlers in a bar getting picked on the way it makes the Marines seem like it is in this movie, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, because I think back in the day too, like there was like a couple things they would tell the wrestlers, this is back in like the territories, to go ahead and get in a bar fight.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah. But if you lost, you got fired.
Right. And they also told them to keep up their their persona even if they were at the bar.
Yeah. And never break kayfabe.
Yeah, don't break kayfabe ever.
Yeah. Well, Haku Ming, he came in Rochester, where I'm from, one time. My best friend's at the time his dad was a trucker, and they were just this diner, and Haku came in and he's like, "Bow to King Haku." This little trucker guy's like, "I'm not bowing to anybody, motherfucker." And of course, they just had a good time. Right. But he was in character,
They say he's one of the toughest guys in all of wrestling too.
Right. Knowing what I know now,
he can actually fight.
Yeah.
I was like, the fact that guy lived by saying that back to him is amazing to me. But I heard he's also a real nice guy too. Just don't fuck with him. Yeah.
It's like I used to see King Kong Bundy all the time.
Oh, nice.
He'd come into the bar that I worked at.
That's cool.
And you could refer to him as like people that knew him would call him by like his real name, but like the rest of us were like, "Hey, how you doing, King Kong Bundy?" Or He was in a bad mood, sir.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was a giant person.
Yeah. Well, Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, he lives like one town over from where I live. And I used to see him in my comic shop all the time. He was a regular. The first time I saw him, I knew something was up because I'm like, there was this really gorgeous woman that really looked out of place, just standing there, bored out of her mind. And I saw this like really nice car outside. I'm like, who the hell's here? And I saw him, and this is back when he was in WCW, and he had a 3-count shirt on. And I didn't recognize him at first. I'm like, who the fuck wears a 3-count shirt? I knew what a 3-count was, but I wouldn't think your average person did.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Shane Helms. And so I was behind him in line, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Shane Helms. So I got the courage up to ask him. I'm like, hey, what, are you in town for a show? He goes, no, man, I live like 30 minutes from here. He goes, whenever I fly in, I just stop here and, get my comics, say hi to the guys, and I go about my day. And I was like, man, that's so cool. So like, knowing that he was around, my old roommate and I, we actually went in one time, and he happened to be there again. And again, we're behind him in line, and my buddy's like all giddy, and he's like, hey, if we were to fight him right now, do you think we could take him? And I was like, no, man, you go first, because even though he's only about our size, he's not
a big guy.
Tall. And at the time, he's way more muscular now than he was back then. But I'm like, I'm not messing with him. That dude knows his shit. I mean, I liked him anyways, and he's a nice guy. But we just had that little thought of like, if two of us went at him right now, could we win? And I was like, nah, we're not going to win. So don't even try. Anyways, well, we're totally off topic now. So unless you guys have anything else, do you just tell everybody where they can find you one last time?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Ain't doing nothing. We're on Dueling Genre, Jay and Silent Bob Minute. We cover such films as Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, the upcoming Dogma. Back many, many moons ago, we covered The Burbs, and I have been known to occasionally do Slycast, a Sylvester Stallone podcast.
I was surprised I saw a new episode.
Oh, we did. We put out a new episode this year.
Yeah. Wow.
It's October. I mean, we got a round of one. He's now making movies faster than we're putting out episodes.
Are you going to do all the direct-to-video ones too?
Our next movie is Daylight.
That's a good one. Well, I recall it being good. I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I just watched that new Rambo one. I thought it was pretty decent.
I like
the one before it was better.
I like the ending.
Yeah, the ending was cool.
Yeah, last 20 minutes is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, appreciate you guys coming in. Where it's Friday, so we always ask everybody to go to moviesbyminutes.com and check out Jay and Silent Bob or The Burbs, and then come back and join us on Monday. Of course, if anybody wants, we got a private group, the Quarter Deck, on Facebook. Other than that, thank you guys for coming. Chris, Jeff, Perry, you sorry sons of bitches, get out my LZ. You're dismissed.
You try so hard.
Do I really try hard?
You try hard in the beginning. I understand.
Yeah.
At this point, you're not trying that hard.
Yeah, it's like, goodbye. And we're gone.